at what point kind of China, or maybe when the U.S. got to that point where we had to address some of these issues?
Well, I don't think there's a bright line point in history or the development of the global economy, if you think about it, because there have been points in time when there's been tremendous pressure on a region's resources associated with population growth. I think of Boston, where we were putting sewage into our river for hundreds of years until it became a major health hazard, and laws were in place in other parts of the country to deal with it. Technology is one of the things that changes in response to a number of problems where you've got some requirements to deal with. So technology shifts in ways that make it so you might think you hit a carrying capacity of an area, and you were able to transform inputs into different ways that deal with the health problems. So if you think about China, 1,300,000 people, I think.
Yeah, almost.
And they can't keep going. They're already in a situation where they're facing tremendous health issues. And I think that one of the things that begins to occur is that as people in China begin to see that some of their aspirations for a more prosperous life come forward, that they're less willing to tolerate some of the kinds of assaults on their health. Then there's pressure on governments to do something else. So I think there's an interesting dynamic of the pressure cooker growing associated with realizing that they don't need to be this sick. It's the same story that we heard in your opening slides. We don't need to be that sick. So at some point, citizens pressure their governments in ways that work in their countries to deal with problems. And then often technology solves some of those. There's a tipping point.
Interesting, yeah. I wonder if there's a way to try to begin to quantify the extent to which human capital is negatively affected by some of this stuff. And then, for example, the 5-year plan has a lot about the environment and energy, but also a lot about transitioning to higher tech, sophisticated industries, and that requires a healthy population that can do more than just basic labor. So I think I would hope that maybe those costs will be taken into account.
Well, yeah, it's a great question. And from a national accounts and economic point of view, one hopes, and in fact they do. If the China's doing it the way that we do it in the United States, though, there's problems. We put prices on the value of lives, and prices on the value of health, and we discount future health in traditional economic ways, right? And so as a result of that, we have gotten to the point in the United States where we do push forward with, say, a cleaner air toxic rule or stricter air toxic rule because it's worth it for the benefits to public health. China has not the same kind of way of handling that issue, but at some point the literal health care loss of the country will begin to become a tremendous burden, and in that sense I think that will help.
Interesting. Okay. And then a little bit more on sort of just hopefully a quick technical question. Sure. You mentioned that that they need to diversify away from coal, and I was wondering if I know you didn't have you couldn't address every possible topic, but I was wondering if you thought at all about what's like the CTL, total liquids situation, or kind of a clean. They've made a lot of investments in clean coal, and I hear really diverging opinions about whether that's ever in either the U.S. or China ever has kind of potential to genuinely be clean at scale. Do you have any do you have like a pro-con or opinion, or is it too sort of complicated?
It's a great question. I'm very actively involved in discussions right now about how we can tap our shale gas resource base in ways that will help address greenhouse gas emissions. If we do that in the short run, yes, that will help greenhouse gas emissions in the United States and China relative to what it would be if we were entirely on coal, say, the equivalent amount of power. But at some point, if we have the kind of global climate change that scientists are very agreeing that we're going to have, we have to address those things. And at that point, right now, carbon capture and sequestration have a number of development challenges, the least of which is the cost. And people say that without a true global recognition that we have to do something serious about carbon, it's going to be too expensive. So it's a dynamic again.
I see.
If we have the kind of problems that people expect, people will begin to see that actually we don't have a choice, and we may have to adopt some of those approaches.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
All right.
Well, I guess that's it. I would love to hear what you have to say about shale gas. I'm hoping I'm really interested in U.S.-China shale gas comparisons. But yeah, one of my best friends is a girl at World Watch who does nothing, Saya Katase, who does nothing but natural gas and environmental impact. And she's actually the person who introduced me to Haibing Ma, who's here, and who's a China person. So I've been more increasingly interested in some of the shale gas.
I think it's really...
Yeah. And from where she says, she worked with AGA a lot, I think, and she says that they, that basically everything's in place for environmentally sort of acceptable, large scale.
Yes.
So do you think that's a fair?
Yes. I actually think that there are companies around the country in the United States that are doing practices that are protected. And that's interesting. Cool. Well, thank you so much. Nice to meet you, Sabrina. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you too.
Good luck on the conference.
Thanks so much. Thanks.